Welcome to Community Book Center, and we are excited this evening to be hosting the launch of Black Ice. Author Michael Zell has done it again with Black Ice, which is the sequel to The Last Shadow.
Yes, ma'am.
Is going to take you further into that journey. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce to you, welcome, Michael Zell.
Might want to turn it up.
Sir?
Now that they kicked
Oh,
off.
yeah. All right, everybody. So before I talk about Black Ice, before I talk about guest performer, I want to invite everybody to come back in 2 weeks, because on April 16th, the day after Tax Day, there's going to be an event. It's going to be real fun, especially if you or you know anyone that has a daughter. Here's the reason why. And here's why everything kind of comes back together. Back in 2016, see if the ladies to my left and my right remember this. Back in 2016, I had a book, different series called Law and Desire that came out. And the focus in that was, I read one little paragraph in the Fast Domino bio about the Club Desire. There's nothing else about it, I'd never seen anything. And I was like, okay, that to me, I want to dig in. So I go out, this is a night board about a block from the Florida Canal, literally at the corner of Law and Desire. And it was, oh my God, it's this old club. You can tell I had like the Japanese glass. The roof was about to cave in. And I was still going to go inside because they had like the little murals inside and stuff. The downtown club with uptown ideas. And then I got stung by a hornet, literally the flesh of my hand. And I took that as an omen. So I go back to my car, like, as I'm going back, a lady 22 steps up, because she got that house raised after Katrina, looked down at me like, boy, what are you doing? And I said, well, I was intending to do blah, blah, blah. And then I got stung and she's like, come on up, get some ice. So Miss Margaret, for the event here, Miss Margaret, who is known as the mayor of Desire Street, Baba Kalamu, Pamela Davis Nolan, playwright, different people that were Ninth Ward focused, we did that event. The fun thing that ended up coming from that is I ended up pitching a story about the Club Desire, which for anybody that doesn't know, it's like the Dewdrop Inn of the nightclub. In fact, Ray Charles wrote in his bio that it was the first club in the South that was real cool. It had like heavy hitters from there. That's Domino was given a car, and he could wear his coveralls, so he didn't go to the deal. It was like that. It was everything. As it turned out, the granddaughter of the gentleman who started the club, who got sneaked into the municipal auditorium to get ideas on what to do. His granddaughter is coming to town. She's got family still here, but she's been away for years. And she's just published, and that's what's going to be happening. She just published this book called Happy Music, which is literally New Orleans and music and legacy and families and mothers and daughters. And she's a retired school teacher, so there's actually a workbook too. So that's what's going to be on April 16th. That's going to be on April 16th. She knows all this great stuff, like when her granddad's health started to weaken. Her mother went from New York, literally going to fashion school, was having fashion shows in the Club Desire. They were having like waitress competition with Dewdrop, Shadowland, all these other clubs in town. So she's going to be talking about all this stuff. So that's going to be, a lot of fun. And I'm going to leave this up here pretty much. Let me say, hold on, were you 11, by the way? Are you number 11?
Yeah, I won.
You won a prize.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's giveaways. Cola gets a hat. I gotta have a cola, but I got a hat. Cola got a hat. So the general run of the show for tonight is going to be this: I'm about to introduce somebody who you definitely want to start following. In fact, right now would be a good idea for folks is follow on social media. On Instagram is get rid of all parentheses and apostrophes and everything. So it's just I am Jada, J-A-D-A-H, Renee, R-E-N-E-E, because when she does her one-woman show in Algiers at the Creative Arts Center upcoming, you're definitely going to want to be catching that, and you're not going to want to miss it. So I learned of Jada through a play that she did up in Baton Rouge 9 months ago, a year ago, whatever it was. And it was just one of these things like, wow, who in the world is this? And sometimes people come across your radar and you're like, wow, that person is just so talented. So for the show, she's going to be doing a little bit of anything and everything. That's going to be a lot. But to kick things off, she's going to present some of her work, and then she's going to do a monologue from The Last Shadow, which is the lead up to Black Ice, and those are Baby Frogs. So give her a hand as she's coming up. This is Jada Renee.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. How y'all doing? I don't want to make y'all hot, but I do have one. Okay. But yes, my name is Jada Renee. I'm a poet and an actress. And I'll be performing 2 pieces and a monologue from The Last Shadow. Didn't I tell you that you could come with me? I've got places for you to hide eternally. Through sin, madness, and maybe even foolery. Motivate you occasionally, but I'd never accept any disrespect that beats you loosely. If I call your name, will you answer? Ignite my body with just one touch, I swear these flames for disaster. That's only if you ever sadden or break my heart. Once you cross a certain line, then trust departs. The building begins to crumble, and rocks begin to shift and move in earthquake. See, I've made place for you next to your mother, but apart from your birthplace. Loving you is not a problem, but I promise. Just as Malcolm X said, he described the art and impact of loyalty and betrayal. So please hear my warning, and give me the same loyalty as a true brother, partner, or friend, and don't do me in. Avoid situation where my back has been and my vertebrae will come to straighten. Again, please don't have my love to be misused, abused, or mistaken. Be careful who you love. And so, this next one. So, I would like to say my favorite color is black. You know, see I got a little black on black going on. So black. So black that when I say my brother and sister, I don't just mean the ones living in the house with me. So black that even the Commodores don't mean an easy Sunday. Not when there's hot corn and hair greasy reaching in the rooms. See, I'm black as Harlem Nights in New Jack City. As black as a playlist featuring Tupac, Kendrick Lamar, Al Green, and just maybe Diddy. So black that my hair won't lay down and stand straight up like the moon sits in the sky. So black that I can be on my way when I never even left the house yet. So black that I am never on time. I was 2 hours late to the baby shower, and guess what? It was mine. But I'm also so black that my skin feeds off the sun, and I sparkle in the moonlight. So black that if there's too many of us in the room, we start to mess with the room temperature. See, I'm just too black to not talk about it. And see, these perm boxes, they don't sit right with me because I'm just too black to relax. Sincerely me, I apologize to all my brothers in my black ass. And this is the monologue from The Last Shadow. It's Maya. I'm trying. I really am. I mean, I keep wondering. I just keep thinking about mommy and daddy. I mean, mom, she's a whiz at math. She could do calculations in her head. And daddy, I remember he told me, when I go into the room, I'm a stranger to no one. And he meant it. He's the people person. And I'm really good at martial arts. I mean, it's a gift. But I can't help but to wonder if it'll lead me to where they are now. Locked up in a way. A power couple. 1 + 1 = 5. But I've got to say it. At night it leads me to one question. Will I end up the same way as them? Is it a blessing? Or is it a curse?
J-A-H-R-E-N-E-E.
Well, no, it's not I am.
You got all, did I get it right?
No, it's I am, just I am. Like it's I am, but you know,
It's M without the apostrophe, right? It's I am, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I-M-J-A-D-A-H.
Yeah, all right.
I said G-A-H-R-E-N-E.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So let's get on to data one more time. Second point is special relationship. So the reason, even though this is a black ice, the reason that she did the last shadow monologue, plus just here doing anything and everything's good, is this. Black Ice is the second of the trilogy, and Shadow is the first of the book. So in that series, and I'm not giving anything away, that book is about a young woman in New Orleans who's finding her way. It's a straight up drama. When people ask me why I write crime fiction, my two answers are: one, I don't write true crime because I know too much and I'm not putting names out there for obvious reasons. And two, I feel like any novel in New Orleans is a straight up, it's a crime novel, right? Because we know how the roads are the reason they are. We know how stuff ends up the way it does. We know how stuff like kids have to deal with. Like all we're saying is usually because of public corruption, because organized crime is making sure they get their cut in connection with public corruption, and then they leave scraps for everybody else who's just trying to get whatever they can get, right? So the stuff on the streets you hear about is real everything else. And I like that in crime novels, you can run that range of social strata, right? You can get like, I think of like Spike Lee's Clockers or The Wire or some of those shows where you see on every level the involvement of all those things, not just the face that you see like in the headline of the news, you know, in some way. So that's Maya in Shadow. She's trying to find a way. Life was going real good with her parents and her family, and then the rug got pulled out from underneath her. She has to choose between two ways of life. In Black Ice, now she's okay, I'm feeling good, things are going right, but the three sort of ideas and themes that I had kind of going on, and the way that I work is I want to have sort of the umbrella, right, of all those ideas that I'm working. One was family, just the idea of like, people will pretty much do anything for family, right? Especially to try to pull family back together. So that was one of the big ones. But then off of that is also the idea that sometimes they say no good deed goes unpunished, but generally unintended consequences. Even if you're doing the right thing for the right reason, the cause and effect, action, consequence, sometimes it doesn't work out what you want. And that's with Maya, let's just say that may be what happens, kind of with this whole thing. The other idea that I had was the concept that to be a warrior, you have to be tested. So for Maya, it's just not that she knows these skills, A, B, C, and D, but that actually she's got a warrior's mindset, she's got a warrior's mentality. So those were kind of the ideas that I was going to do. And I'm realizing something real quick. Sir, I don't even know your name. I wanted to shake your hand because I didn't know.
Thomas. Hold on just a second. Congratulations to you on the new publication.
Yeah, appreciate you coming.
And I love all that you was talking about that Mighty Nine.
Yeah,
Down there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. And there's more to come, get ready. Because Baba Kalamu's writing more about that stuff.
Yes, sir.
Marcus Christian book is going to be coming out. So I Am New Orleans, that was just the beginning of all that stuff. Before I continue, Mama Jennifer, an odd number, if you would, between 1 and 15. You said 3? Who's got 3? Okay, I got this. I have, you ready? These are shadow shirts. I have extra small, you said don't give it away. I have extra small, medium, large, extra large. This is the last shadow.
Thank you so much.
Last shadow shirt. So the title, I wanted to touch on the title. Where did all that come from? One, it's a cool title, but I almost didn't go with it for a certain reason. When I have an idea like with Shadow, that I was like, oh, that's a great title. I Google it, I go on Amazon, I look at bookstores like, okay, is it too good that it's already been used, or it's too good that just nobody's got to it, right? And Shadow is one, oddly, nobody ever really used the last Shadow, which is crazy. So Black Ice is, and it's already mentioned in Shadow, that it becomes Maya's nickname, because in pressure situations, she handles it well. She doesn't just break even and tread water, she excels in a tough situation. So her teacher, who is her mentor in life, really starts calling her that at the end of the book. So that gives you kind of the kick on it. There was one big reason that I almost didn't use the title, despite the fact like I loved it, I found nobody had ever really used it before, and that was this. I'm from the Midwest, I've been here since 2 years before Katrina. I know what black ice is, for real. But I was like, man, nobody in New Orleans is gonna have any idea. They're like, it's a cool title, but some things you have to experience, because I like the idea that when people mess with Maya, like they're hitting black ice. Like you don't know it's coming, because she just seems like every regular person in the world. But when you mess with her, you like spin out for a minute and you try to regain to right the way, right? And I love sort of the theory of all that with this character. But I was like, nobody in New Orleans is going to do this. So what I did was, I decided to come up with this marketing plan. You might have heard about the blizzard of 10 inches in 10 hours and stuff. So now everybody knows what black ice is. Now everybody knows what black ice is. My man, Chris, I hate to say it. Everybody knows what black ice is. And I was just like, oh my God. People were literally texting like, I hope you got something you could like literally put outside for promotion and stuff. Put it in the street, put next to an icicle, like all that stuff. It was absolutely crazy with that. Hey, good to see you. Shall we give her a number too? I'm doing giveaways, friends, so let me give you one of these. One of the other things that was fun for me is this is a straight up New Orleans series. It's a drama. I love martial arts, but I wanted this to be a series or type of story for everybody. So not just people who are into the next like Michael Jai White action movie or like Bruce Lee movies and stuff. Something for everybody. But it does have some scenes that I wanted to work some of those elements into it. So in Shadow, in Shadow, even though this is the cover, this is just too cool of a cover. She's not doing like swords and stuff. It's more of her just learning some of these like basic techniques. In Black Ice, all that was the cover. The thing she's doing with her hand, it's almost like the hand is a spear. It's called tiger claw style. So a lot of the Chinese styles are based on animals. So what you're doing is actually strengthening your hand to use it to strike. So you're doing fingertip push-ups. You're literally hitting what's called a makiwara board that gives a little bit, or you just hit a tree, and your like calluses are building up for your hands, for your forearms, like all that stuff. That's what she's doing there. But the big thing that I wanted to have some like evocative sense about it too is the backhand. Like what's that all about? So what she's doing with that is called Dambe style. Dambe, and it's still done actually, but they've been doing this in Nigeria since the 10th century. It's essentially the medieval boxing glove. And to do this with the model, that's not a Photoshop digital kind of thing. That took 100 feet of rope from Home Depot. That's literally 100 foot of rope. Now obviously most of it is around like the fist, but it starts in the forearm, it ends with the fist, and you're making the rounds. Hey Lisa. And so what happens with it is, traditionally they do 3 rounds. Or it's the first time you hit the ground, it's game over for anything like that. Back in the day, and this was done by butchers or workmen, sometimes for like festivals, this was like the entertainment. Okay, who's the toughest for the festival, like kind of thing, right? They would do it for that. They would literally dip those in like resin with like broken glass, and then it got real. Or sometimes they would actually do it to the death. It was one of those kind of things. So I wanted to introduce something that even people who do martial arts in the US probably wouldn't be familiar with, but have context, have an actual reason why they would do this, like in the first place, not just kind of a random sort of thing. And how that came about was this. For sense of place and setting, we talked about this at Tennessee Williams Fest a few days ago, is how key that is, and that's one of the fun things in crime fiction, is in quote regular fiction, sometimes characters are more important than setting. But in crime novels, setting is always big. It's always like one of the characters itself. And that's one of the things why I love to read books around the world, that are set in different places, better understand it. And that's why I like to write it. And probably the 2 main settings in Black Ice are one, the 7th Ward, and even people that know the 7th Ward, you might not know if you're going up Elysian. Now this is all fictional, but I wanted to place it in areas that people know. If you're going up Elysian before you get to 610, so you got on the right, you got gas station, McDonald's, Cox, all that. on the left where Sammy's is at, you all know what I'm talking about? The resale place used to be there, I think they moved. Back behind there to the left, that's also the 7th floor. There's one of the last spiritual churches in New Orleans is actually right still in there. I think it's Israelite Divine, if I remember right. Like Joe Lasky's people like literally played there, like jazz and spiritual churches, all that stuff. But when you go in there, you can't proceed too far, like if you're going down to the river, because there's a canal that goes through it. You can't go around back the other way because you got train tracks and then the canal continues on the other side. So I like the idea of having it set. It's a very New Orleans spot. It's not a trendy spot that all of a sudden that's going to be the hip place where there's going to be all these like bars and night whatever going on. It's just where people live, kind of thing. So I also like the idea of Maya when she's going through some really stressful times, that she can just walk up this little hill to the train tracks, and even though it feels like life is like the ceiling dropping and keeping her in one direction in her life, she can see those trains going by, and she knows they're going somewhere, right? She can't see the end of the tracks, she can see the horizon, but she knows all that's leading somewhere, and that gives her enough hope to see, okay, all that's making it, so I know there's a way out and there's a way to get through all this stuff. The other big setting is this. So I'm not giving too much away to say she ends up getting involved in blackmail and doing underground cage fighting. So think of, the way I kind of tell people is think of like Creed meets Fight Club, you know, that movie Brad Pitt and Edward Norton. So where to do the fight scene, right? So where I came up with, and this is where we did the shot actually, that's actually 2 different photos, but where we did the shot is, if you take the Danziger Bridge over to the east, but instead of going over the bridge, you take that downwind exit, go 40, you hit it, and then go curl back underneath. So instead of taking downwind, instead of taking a chef, if you go back under, that's literally the down ramp. And then it's like a bunch of, there's a daiquiri shop, but a bunch of body shops and all that. And if you continue, it's Old Utility Road. You get like the drivable part, then eventually you get the part where they dump all the tires, where the cars get chopped, where if you try to drive through it, you're gonna have flat tires because there's so much stuff through there. And then it goes back to the practice stuff. So that's kind of the other area that we're going for. So what I was looking to do with all this is everybody in New Orleans born and raised even get to know these specific areas? Maybe, maybe not. But I wanted it to feel like New Orleans with the characters, so that if it's somebody that knew that area or came up in that area, it didn't feel wrong to them. You know? And so for me, and this is what we talked about at the festival a lot, it was finding like the beating heart, to find like the humans. It's not just, this is a house here, this is a warehouse here, and how does, you know, you're getting there, you're getting back and all that, but the human side of all that stuff. And that's what I found was kind of key, you know, for everything. Ms. Vera, an even number if you would between 1 and 16.
12.
12, who got 12?
Me.
You got 12? You? Oh, okay. Who's got 12?
I got 12. I'm just.
Oh, you were playing. Another
I
even
wasn't,
number.
but I am.
Another even number.
Say it again.
Another even number if you would.
From between 1 and 1.
1 and 16. Wait, hold up. Make that 1 and 18. One and 18 if you would, an even number. And then I'll ask somebody else next time so you can move.
So keep it simple. 1, 2.
2? Okay. Who's got 2? You got 2? Okay.
Let me see. We have a winner.
You got a
We
winner?
have a winner.
All right, I have
Number 2.
extra
Number 2.
small,
Yeah.
large, extra
small.
extra small.
She drew it on there?
You want a t-shirt? No, I wrote them on the back.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
There you go.
So that gives a little bit idea for the book. In a minute, if anybody has questions and this and that, we'll talk about it. The plan is that then the third book, the follow-up book, will be next year. We'll see some of this. The other thing